Hey everyone, this vlog, Sleepy Vlog number 16, is dedicated to the great legend. A man who has this strength and spirit as big as all of Texas. Big as Texas. And we love the great legend, and he will be back. And he is missed. And when he comes back, he will be better than ever. If any of you want to know some of the horrible details of why he should be laying low for a little while, you can check out Hippy Collectibles' video. I'll put a link down below where he tells you the nitty-gritty in his own inimitable style. So, yeah, this is for you, Rob. A great guy in the community who makes me feel good whenever I watch his videos or do a little chat with him on Gmail chat, and I can't wait for you to come back. Speaking of friends and great people in the community, today I came home and I had a package from Canada. It was from comicKkrakK. He had mentioned sending me some stuff a while back, but I didn't know if he'd really do it. It didn't matter, one way or the other in terms of our friendship. He does a lot of cool videos about more sort of alternative comic books and the like, underground comic books, alternative comic books, small press comic books. He also reads the regular Marvel and DC, mostly Marvel, I think. But he likes to talk about the unusual stuff. And so he sent me a few of those unusual things he's been talking about, packed up very, very well, extremely well. I've never gotten a better packed package. And along with the comics themselves, I guess I've taken one of them out of the box. He slipped inside the bags and boards. He included other little treats. These trading cards, Batman and Robin. This one's number 45, looks like from the TV show. And on the back is part of a larger picture that I guess you put together when you collect the right cards. And this one must be from a different set. Quite cool, sort of a painted, old-fashioned looking Robin there. It says, fighting back, crunch. And there seems to be part of a text story on the back. This is card number 30. It starts out, the Catwoman instructs her men to untie the boy wonder, but as soon as they do, Robin jumps into action with the judo and karate he has learned from Batman. So, cool stuff in these nice card collector cases, so my daughter can girl handle them without causing trouble. Let's see, where did I put it? He also, in another one, he slipped in 2 DVDs, which I've pulled out. I looked at one of them. Where did they go? Oh, they're there. No? I'm sorry, I thought I had all these things in a pile. This is actually the second time I've done this video, because the first time I forgot to turn on my microphone. Anyway, he sent me these DVDs, homemade DVDs. One was titled The Worst Movies, and I haven't peeked at that yet. Very intriguing title. And the other side was Skip-a-Tunes, which seemed to be a compilation of musical numbers, maybe very cheesy musical numbers. So I'm looking forward to delve deeper into that. And then in terms of comic books, he sent me Ike, the Transmutation of Ike Garuda from Epic Comics. Did they give a date on the cover? Anyway, book 1 and book 2 by Elaine Lee and James Sherman. That was book 2 actually, and this is book 1. I know he reviewed these and liked these in one of his recent videos, so that's exciting. I'll have to see what I think of them. And I never would have heard of this without him. I probably should have heard of this, but I haven't. Officer Down by Joe Casey and Chris Burnham. I'm kind of excited to see some earlier Chris Burnham art. Really, really dig Chris Burnham's style in Batman Inc. And then he sent me 3 issues of this very unusual magazine called Cinema Sewer, which specializes in kind of sleazy, offbeat, sexual kinds of cinema. And it's published in this comic book form with covers that look kind of like comic books, but on the inside, it's kind of a classic fanzine look. You could almost imagine it, being done on Xerox, although it's got this comic book font. I remember fanzines from really long ago that people wrote out by hand in comic book font. And this kind of reminds me of that, with all these, kind of mix of articles just sort of strewn all over the place. comicKkrakK, Terrence talked a lot about this, and I'm real excited to have 3 copies to read. Another thing that I would never have known existed without him. I'm not sure where I would even find this, so that's very cool. All of this is very cool. And also in one of these was a little crack print that he made, number 28 of 30. I'm not sure, pardon the sounds there, I'm not sure what technique he used, but the print itself has a texture. You can feel raised lines everywhere. Maybe some kind of heat applying ink to the paper, or some special kind of paper maybe even. Yeah, so that's very cool. I'll have to ask him how he did that. And there's a note on the back. I assume that Terrence won't mind me reading the note, so I'm going to read it. It says, Damien, sorry you had to die in Batman Inc. Yeah, maybe that's part of why I didn't like the death in Batman Inc. I don't know what they were thinking. Thanks so much for all the kind words and comments you've had for me, literally since day one in my time on YouTube. And the story there is that comicKkrakK was one of my steady and interesting commenters on YouTube. So as soon as he let me know that he was doing videos, I, of course, went and subscribed to him and watched them. And have really enjoyed his personal take on comics. Here's a small token that I hope you enjoy. One day I know I'll have to come to your town to attend the Small Press Expo there. It's bound to happen. Then I can get the chance to meet one of my favorite YouTubers face to face. Enjoy the books, Terrence. Terrence, if you ever do come to town, and if you need a place, we've got lots of space at my house. I'd love to put you up. You and whatever members of your family might come along. There's plenty of space. It's not the most luxurious, but we can put you up. And whether or not you take me up on that, I'd love to meet face to face. Be very cool. And Terrence and I have a couple of times talked about. We've never talked live. On Google Plus or something. But we've tried to connect, and we've talked about the possibility of doing a live hangout sometime. Maybe we'll talk about alternative comics or something. So hopefully that's coming up in the future. Love to pick his brain some more on all that he reads and does. So that was really cool. And speaking of cool people in the community, I like to give shout-outs to people I haven't mentioned before. I apologize to anyone that I miss, because it is kind of haphazard, and I can't spend my time shouting out everybody all the time. But I'll just throw out some that have been on my radar lately that I don't think I've mentioned before. Some of these people are very new to the community, and some have been around and just more on my radar right at the moment. flyDaddy is a great new YouTuber. I think he's been doing it maybe for a month now. I really enjoy all his videos and his thoughts, and they're getting better all the time as he gets kind of used to talking about comic books, I think. But he has really great thoughts about what he reads. He has good taste in what he reads. and his videos are nice and informal and just fun to listen to. It's nice, seems like a really nice guy. And he comments on a lot of people's videos, so you might have seen him around, or you might already be subscribing to him. I think people are finding him pretty quickly because he is making himself part of the community. Longbox Review is also a new person, maybe just a few weeks into doing this. I don't think he's been discovered by many people yet. I discovered him because he was mentioned to me by Travis Oddfellowthought. Maybe Longfellowthoughts too. Mentioned to us in Travis's videos. So Eric Longbox Review is a friend of Travis. They've done podcasts together. And Longbox Review has been an ongoing podcast. I think he's going to do both videos and podcasts, but I like videos better. And he's doing reviews of all of the comic books he's reading every week, and it's very interesting and intelligent and thoughtful. I think Scott Grady has been on a little longer. I'm not sure how long, but I've probably discovered him in the past month and a half, and I love his reviews and his videos. Another really smart guy, a lot of interesting things to say about the comics he reads. I just love hearing people talk about what they've been reading lately, and he does a great job of it. He's got one of those harder to understand accents for the American ears. He's from the UK somewhere, but it's well worth getting used to. And once I get used to it, it's cool. Etanak 1 is a special favorite of mine right now. I think he's been around for a while, but he's been putting out a lot of videos lately, both kind of practical ones about eBay and selling your comics and grading comics. Also ones showing, some of the interesting things from his collection. He has from what I've seen, a really sweet collection of really, really high quality comic books. Ones that, it's just beautiful to look at because they're in such good shape. And I think he has very good taste in the artists and comic books he likes from the past. He also has been doing a number of videos where he talks about why comic books appeal to him so much, and why and wraps it up in his personal history, which is really interesting, from a childhood in Vietnam to being an immigrant in the United States, reading French comic books in Vietnam, American comic books here, English language comic books here. So really, really, really interesting stuff. One Z Angelique is a great YouTuber, has been around a while. I think he's been doing videos more frequently lately, but I've watched him on and off for quite a long time. I think I learned about him through Cursive Man, and I really like his videos. I like his take on comics and the things he talks about and his thoughts. And he's doing a contest right now for approaching 100 subscribers about Marv Wolfman and George Perez. Just having people do videos about what they know or what they think about those two creators. And he's giving a prize of a graphic novel by the two of them. So definitely check all those people out there if you don't already subscribe to any of those people. They're all really good videos, good community people. And speaking of that, speaking of YouTube and my involvement, for the next 3 or 4 months, maybe longer, maybe less, I'm not going to be spending any money on comic books. I'm not going to be spending any money on any kind of leisure time stuff or cutting it down to the bone. My wife and I have been kind of shocked and, what's the right word? Something has happened financially that we hadn't planned on, which is basically insurance companies, health insurance companies, not covering as much of some tests and things done on my wife, my daughter. I might have some dental work coming up. And so we're just several $1,000s behind where we would like to be. So we're just going to cut back a lot till we can pay off those bills. We don't want long-term debt hanging over us and building up. So I'm just, it's a small loss in the big picture of things in terms of my comic book reading, because I've got a ton of comic books and graphic novels that I haven't gotten around to read. So I will just focus on reading those and try to catch up at some later date on the good stuff that I've missed. I'm kind of sad because I've really enjoyed doing weekly reviews or comic book thought vlogs on what I read each week, watching what everyone else is reading and comparing opinions. And I'll still be watching everyone's videos, and I'll still be making videos. They just won't be part of that weekly cycle. They'll just be about thoughts I have about comic books, maybe more, hopefully more chats with other people, things on themes, or talking about some of the things I'm reading that aren't new comic books. So, yeah, that's just how it's going to be for a few months. But I'll still be a pretty steady presence. It's just the content will change a little bit. As kind of a goodbye to all that, a temporary goodbye, a temporary swan song to reviewing, I'm hoping it will work out. I'm pretty sure it will work out, that I'm going to be a guest on Oddfellowthought's Monster Comic Reviews next weekend. So we will review together about 12 comic books. I'll be Ethan for a day, you might say. So that'll be really cool. And hopefully it'll go well. I've never reviewed alongside someone else. And maybe we'll be able to do it again someday in the far future. But I'm really looking forward to that. All of the stuff, with the trolls and things, I'm not going to comment on it a whole lot, but I agree a lot. I essentially agree with stuff that Oddfellowthought said in one of his recent What the Fugues about how to handle trolls and not let it escalate. So I'll try to link to that also. So I just agree with what he said. And kind of separate to all of that, but it just puts me in the mind of thinking about it, is just how public this is being on YouTube. It's not hanging out at a bar with your friends. There's all kinds of people out there who are going to interpret you in all different kinds of ways. They're from different countries, different locales, different social groups, different ages. There are people in their 80s watching you. There's people who are 11 years old watching you. They're all going to hear you in a different way and respond to you in a different way. So for me, anyway, that means put a certain part of yourself into videos and not all of yourself into videos. You can take that for what it's worth. And an interesting thing happened like about a month ago. We interviewed a bunch of people for a new position at where I work, and it's kind of an editorial position, and a lot of the people applying had done editorial work on websites, which in theory anyway connected to what we do at my job. So one of these guys on one of the websites that he had done work on had links to his YouTube videos, and our CEO went right to that, and then he passed around the link to a bunch of people involved with the hiring to the video, because this guy was like the number one or number two candidate until they saw the videos. And it's not that he did anything awful in the videos. He was just kind of, from the point of view of thinking that we're going to hire this person, he was just kind of, it wasn't a very impressive video. And neither would my YouTube videos be impressive if someone were hiring me for a job. But it just changed the whole dynamic of how he was viewed, and he was out of the running. And I think that what he was doing, I guess it was mostly for a group of friends, but he thought it also helped promote the website that he was on. I don't know. But it just didn't make any sense out of context of whatever the real context of what he was doing was. And so that just makes me think of context and how you never know who's viewing you and what they're thinking of what you're doing. So certainly, if I'm ever out on the job market, I think I will temporarily make all my videos unlisted, just in the very off chance that someone can find me. And you got to think about what kind of information you include in your videos about your personal life, or about where you work, or other things that people can sort of tag on to you. But also just in the bigger context of communicating with people, you have to realize that it's no joke that things mean different things to different people. And this is kind of a lame example, but my brother-in-law is from England, and he spent some time in the U.S., but now lives back in England with my sister. And I guess for years he thought it was amazing how polite Americans were because they refused to ever use the word arse. They always used the more polite word ass. So this is a simple and silly thing, but to us in America, ass is rude and arse is just quaint and silly. Ass is not that rude anymore as it was 20 years ago, let's say, but it still has a little bit of, it's the less polite use of the way of talking about someone's behind. So he was viewing people in the reverse of what they were, in a sense, because of that tiny, tiny cultural difference. Another thing a little bigger was that after he lived in the United States for about 2 or 3 years, while he was basically trying to get my wife to move back to England with him, he expressed kind of distress at the American social behavior, which was that we're friendly right away and we act like we're great friends with you very early on in getting to know you. But then we just move on. We forget about you, or we seem to forget about you. And we just have a very different cultural way of treating a friendship than someone in England does, or at least in the part of England he was from compared to the part of America that he was staying in, because it varies a lot from different parts in the United States. So just in general, people of different ages, different cultures, different regions are gonna see what you do a little differently. And when you're watching other people or approaching them for some kind of odd YouTube relationship, everybody's going to be interpreting what that relationship is a little differently and what the commitment is or whatever. And as YouTube gets bigger, I think as the comic book community gets bigger, there's more and more chances for those misunderstandings. Most of the time, between grown-ups, we work it out. But I think it's just a good thing to keep in mind that there's just all kinds of different people out there. I try to be myself on these videos because there's no point in me doing them otherwise. But it is just a part of myself. Some people, in chats or whatever, have been exposed to a different side of my sense of humor than I would put on a video because it might be misunderstood or just distracting. So anyway, I just wanted to say that. I don't know if I really communicated what I really mean here about that, but it's just part of what I have in mind when I think about the fact that all of this is quite public. Even though at moments the comic book community can feel quite intimate and just a few of us, and when it's like a bunch of guys who are in their 30s and 40s or 50s, we pretty much all understand each other most of the time. But there are all kinds of people out there. So I will cut it off there. Thanks for making it through to the end of this video. Once again, this was dedicated to my great friend, the great legend. Can't wait for him to come back. he is, talk about community. He's just a wonderful community person. It's very devastating to me to have something bad like this happen to him. But I'm sure he will survive and come back stronger than ever. So I'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.